We already saw the first game of week number 1 of the 2025 fantasy football season, and right now is prime time for people to tinker with their lineups and potentially set their team from a winning lineup to losing, and you feel a ton of embarrassment because you lost to your buddy that doesn't even watch a down of football. So in today's video, I'm going to help you guys not make those mistakes. I'm going to be talking about 7 players that I believe are must starts in week number 1. But before we could get on into today's video, I would like to ask that if you guys are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, that you please make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. So without further ado, let's get into my week number 1 must starts for the 2025 fantasy football season. We begin with Tetairoa McMillan, wide receiver of the Carolina Panthers, going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars this week in Duval. He is currently ranked as my wide receiver 17 in week number 1. Now, the Jaguars last season allowed the 8th most points on a per-game basis to wide receivers last season. I understand that you can't just copy-paste anything from last season and assume that it's going to happen this season, right? That would be absolutely crazy, and then there would be no point in actually doing your fantasy drafts because you would just draft the players that did great last season, stay away from the players that played bad last season. But ultimately, I do believe that the Jaguars defense isn't immensely better than they were last year, and I think that this is a great matchup for Tetairoa McMillan. There's a reason why this man was the 8th overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, and that is because he played tremendous in college at Arizona. In my opinion, Tet McMillan plays a lot like Drizzy Drake London. He is an amazing contested catch wide receiver, and I think he is going to get fed the rock in this offense. Adam Thielen is now in Minnesota, so the potential of Adam Thielen stealing away some targets is now not possible because he's in Minnesota. Jalen Coker is a guy that a lot of fantasy players liked, and I am a big Coke head, metaphorically, of course. Shout out to Tony Montana. I love Jalen Coker, but he's not going to be playing for the first few games of the season, so it's going to be Tet McMillan, Xavier Legette, and Hunter Renfrow out there in week number 1, and I just believe that the offense is going to run through Tet McMillan. America runs on Duncan. The Carolina Panthers run through Tetairoa McMillan. I think he could see an enormous target share in his NFL debut in a fantastic matchup. I think that a lot of people get nervous about, oh, do I really want to be starting this rookie wide receiver, this rookie running back, whatever position it is in week number 1 because they're a rookie and they're nervous because rookies start slow. Don't worry about that with Tetairoa McMillan. He is set up for great success in week number 1. Next up, we move to Ricky Pearsall, Ricky Rolex, Slick Rick, wide receiver of the San Francisco 49ers, going up against the Seattle Seahawks this week in Seattle, currently ranked as my wide receiver 21 on the week. Now, in terms of matchup, I really do believe that the Carolina Panthers up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, that is a wet dream matchup for T-Mac. Not as much here for Ricky Pearsall, in my opinion, a very middle-of-the-road matchup. Now, Jauan Jennings has been out of practice for much of the summer with the injury as well as the contract situation. Ultimately, the team does play him, so he returns to practice. He should be GTG, good to go in week number 1, but that doesn't mean that Jauan Jennings is now just penciled in as the wide receiver 1, Brock Purdy's number 1 target, because of the fact that he really hasn't been there practicing a ton this summer. Ricky ran hot towards the end of last season. 2 finishes with over 18 PPR points, both games that included 8+ targets as well as a touchdown. I understand that his rookie season wasn't great, and a lot of people love to point out how, oh, he didn't really jump off the page as a rookie. But then you just have to think back to, hey, what happened before his rookie season started? The guy took lead to the chest before the start of the season, and maybe that's why his rookie season wasn't so good. If the 49ers had a penny for every time a player on their team got shot, they would have 2 pennies, which is more than any other team in the NFL. This man was a first-round NFL draft pick for a reason in 2024 with a beyond competent quarterback, and he could easily be the number 1 target on this team in Seattle this week. I talked up Ricky all summer, and I strongly believe this great season that I've been waxing poetically about starts in week number 1. He's not going to come out the gate slow like A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith or George Pickens. He's going to come out the season putting up belt to ass numbers. At number 3, we got Kyle Pitts, tight end of the Atlanta Falcons, going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, my tight end number 13. Now, some people are going to click off the video instantly and be like, Nick, how could you possibly talk up Kyle Pitts? Kyle Pitts has left me walking funny over the last few seasons. Kyle Pitts has been a complete and utter dumpster fire, unmitigated disaster, a guy that has completely fucked over my fantasy team all these years in a row, and I get the frustration with Kyle Pitts. And ultimately, I don't think I project Kyle Pitts to have this dominant of a season. I don't love Kyle Pitts for a season-long bet, but ultimately in week number 1, up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, this is a matchup that is very exploitable for Kyle Pitts. The Buccaneers ranked 10th in most points allowed last season to the tight end position, but most importantly, Kyle Pitts slung out back shots both times against the Buccaneers defense last year. Week 5 versus the Bucs, 8 targets, 7 receptions, 88 yards as the tight end 6 with 15.8 PPR points. And it gets better in week 8 at Tampa Bay. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 91 yards, and 2 touchdowns as the tight end 2 with 25.1 PPR points. So with a great matchup and a history of Kyle Pitts performing up against the Buccaneers defense has me feeling very good about him this week. Again, I understand why you might be nervous playing Kyle Pitts, and I know my ranking of him isn't ultra high. I don't have him ranked inside the top 10, frankly, because it's week 1, and I don't really think you should be getting cute and playing Kyle Pitts over like Evan Ingram or something. But if you have Tyler Warren and Kyle Pitts, if you have Tucker Kraft and Kyle Pitts, you can make a strong argument as to why you want to start Kyle Pitts. He is going to be a player that I draft a ton on Underdog for the week 1 contest. I've already drafted a few with Kyle Pitts as my tight end. I feel very confident with him this week, and maybe after this week, after he blows up, after he goes nuclear, you can just ship him off your team to the other person in your league that probably wanted to draft Kyle Pitts because everyone just loves Kyle Pitts, even though he's bent you over the table for so many years in a row. Next up, we move to Bryce Young, quarterback of the Carolina Panthers, going up against the Jacksonville Jaguars, my quarterback number 9 on the week. The Jacksonville Jaguars allowed the 2nd most points to the quarterback position last season on a per-game basis. Again, like we talked about earlier with this matchup with T-Mac, I really think this matchup has explosion written all over it. A true back and forth matchup that's going to be super exciting to watch, even though a lot of people just write this game off as, oh, it's the fucking cat game, the Panthers versus the Jaguars. Who gives a shit, right? I actually am super excited about this matchup. Bryce Young from weeks 12 through 18 last season averaged 20.7 points per game as the quarterback number 9. In that stretch, Bryce Young had 3 top 8 games with 2 games inside of the top 2, and I really do believe that the offense should be better this season with Bryce Young now in the right state of mind, right? Last season started off terrible for Bryce Young. Then they benched his ass for the Red Rifle Andy Dalton. Then Andy Dalton gets in a car crash. They insert Bryce Young in. It takes some time, but eventually he starts to really develop. And I really do believe that him playing so well down the stretch of last season means that it's going to be great for his 3rd year. In those games, weeks 12 through 18, he had 3 performances inside the top 8. And he had 2 games where he finished inside of the top 2. I get losing Adam Thielen does hurt, but they still have T-Mac. They still have Xavier. Somebody touch my Leggett. They have Hunter Renfrow. They have Jatavion Colonel Sanders. I am very excited about what we could see out of Bryce Young. This is a quarterback that has some sneaky rushing upside on a weekly basis as well. I think this matchup has that shootout potential, so I love Bryce Young this week. At number 5, we got Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the Atlanta Falcons, my wide receiver number 25. But before we talk about Emeka Egbuka as well as players 6 I would like to give you guys a quick word for our friends, our partner over at Underdog. If you're brand new to Underdog, it's sign up using the link in the video description. You will get a free pick plus a first-time deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus funds, as well as if you play $5 in the pick'em, you'll receive $50 in bonus funds. If you need understanding of how Underdog Pick'em works, it is incredibly simple. You pick at least 2 players and you pick their higher or their lower. Here is an example from Thursday Night Football. Javonte Williams, higher than 1.5 rush plus receiving touchdowns. Saquon Barkley, higher than 2.5 receptions. And CeeDee Lamb, higher than 72.5 receiving yards. 3 out of 3. They hit all 3 picks. $5 to win $518.50 with a 50% profit boost. Make sure you guys do check out Underdog, promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description. It is incredibly easy to figure out. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. So back to Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, going up against the Atlanta Falcons. This matchup has the 3rd highest over-under on the week, and the Falcons allowed the 5th most points to wide receivers last season. There is no Chris Godwin in this matchup, as well as for the start of the season, and that is going to open up the door wide open for Egbuka to be the number 2 target behind Evans in this game. And even though this is his rookie debut, again, don't be scared to start your rookies. It is entirely possible, in my opinion, that Emeka Egbuka out-targets Mike Evans in this game. And I think it's very possible that he even outscores him. The drumbeat all summer long has been nothing short of fantastic for Egbuka. The coaching staff is oogling and ogling over him. The coaching staff is giving him the Suka Lamink, the Gawk Gawk 9000 special. Baker Mayfield is talking about how he can play all over the formation. He does everything. He is amazing. He loves Emeka Egbuka. So when the drum beat is this positive and we have such a great matchup, you don't need to be scared to roll out a guy that you loved over the summer so much that you fucking drafted him. So I think he's going to start off his career incredibly strong in week 1 in a wet dream matchup up against the hot Atlanta Falcons. At number 6, we got Rome Odunze, wide receiver of the Chicago Bears, going up against the cold like Minnesota Vikings, my wide receiver number 28. Last season, the Minnesota Vikings allowed the most amount of points on a per game basis to the wide receiver position, and I don't see this vastly improving magically in 2025. Just like with Emeka Egbuka, virtually every single report all summer long was sucking off Rome Odunze. Ben Johnson even did his fair share of doing that. Ben Johnson calls Rome Odunze an offensive piece that he never had in Detroit. To me, he fits the prototypical X receiver, Johnson said, where you can line him up outside the numbers, and provided he gets a one-on-one with the corner, he's going to win most of those matchups. Slant routes, stop routes, go routes, you know, the whole route tree outside the numbers, and that's what I've seen him do so far. He's a really detailed route runner. Rome Odunze is loved by this team. I get that DJ Moore is still the wide receiver 1, and I like DJ Moore more than most people, but Rome Odunze getting this great of a matchup, so is DJ Moore. I think he has the upside to be a top 12 wide receiver in week number 1. And last season, percent of open air yards that were uncatchable, Rome Odunze ranked 2nd with 48% of his open air yards were uncatchable. Caleb Williams was throwing that sit to a different fucking zip code. Okay? He was throwing it out of the stadium. It was hitting Bears fans who were drinking in the crowd. It was brutal. I think we get a better version of the play of Caleb Williams this season. I think Ben Johnson's really going to boost this offense up a ton, and I feel very good about Rome Odunze again in a wet dream matchup. Final guy here is going to be James Conner, running back of the Arizona Cardinals, going up against the New Orleans Saints this week in the NO. My running back 11 on the week. Now, a lot of people will say, Nick, a lot of those picks that you had today were not necessarily the most obvious ones, right? They're guys that I might have considered potentially sitting. I was obviously going to play James Conner, and I get that, but it is important to understand that there has been so much talk all over the summer about Trey Benson maybe taking away his touches, Trey Benson playing a larger role, and basically kicking James Conner down the stairs. He's so old, he's gonna fall, and he can't get up, and he needs some fucking life alert, right? That is how people have been talking about James Conner and Trey Benson, that Trey Benson's gonna take everything away from him. I really don't see that happening. I don't think you need to overthink things with James Conner. This is one of the best matchups that a running back could have. Last year, they allowed the 5th most points to the running back position. And again, I don't really think the Saints defense is a lot better. In James Conner's final 3 games last season, not including week 17, where he only played in 16.5% of the snaps, those final 3 games, he put up 22.2 points against the Seahawks in week 14, 30.8 on the Patriots in week 15, and in week 16 up against the Panthers, 26.6. Again, I get that there's been all this negativity surrounding the name of James Conner, and people are going to panic off of him. Do not worry about James Conner. You got to start him with supreme confidence in week number 1. So thank you guys all so much for watching. If you did up enjoying today's video, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button down below. Like it owes you some money. Leave a like on today's video. It would help me out a ton. Check out Underdog, promo code Notorious, or by clicking on the link in the video description. Get that deposit offer of up to $1,000 in bonus funds, as well as if you play a $5 pick'em, you'll receive an additional $50 in bonus funds. Love you guys all so much. Check out one of the videos on the screen if you haven't seen them already. Love you a long time, and as always, good boy!